Yeah. Hello.
Hey there.
Hello, Ryan.
I think we have three. There's four of us. So I can open the meeting. I know that Jan Bell is not able to attend. I see that. Oh, we have Jill. How
Joe,
very nice
you
that
doing?
is. So before we get started, it's recording and it is 12:01 and consistent with chapter 107 of the Acts of 2022. This meeting will be conducted by remote participation. The public may not physically attend this meeting, but every effort will be made to allow the public to view and listen to the meeting in real time and participate when necessary. In addition, the listing of matters is those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed. Other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. And also the order of the meeting will be changed so that we will review the minutes for the meeting held on January the 23rd, subsequent to reviews of the or the other items on the agenda. Welcome, everybody.
Maggie, can I just ask one question? I just want to make sure we're clear. I was checking your quorum just to make sure. So Bill, so Mark can be Mike. Okay, never mind. Bill, I just didn't know if the city staff were.
Well, it's always we have included them as in the quorum number.
Okay.
Because we have included them as the among the 7 members of the committee. But thanks for bringing that up, Jill, because it's important to note, I don't know if everybody else knows, but Bill Sanborn is retiring. Maybe he has already retired. There was an email that he sent to me saying that he wasn't going to be responding to emails in the future, and that was from Friday. So I think it's appropriate to acknowledge Bill's many contributions to the to the city in general, but in particular to the City Hall Restoration Commission. He has been a valuable source of information and help. So while he's not on the line, I hope his ears are burning with praise.
Jill, is there an heir apparent, by the way?
I'm sorry?
That we should know about?
No, there's not. We will start a search for a new building commissioner.
Okay.
ASAP. So, but no, not at the moment. But I will. There is an assistant. Donald Belanger is the assistant building commissioner.
Donald what?
Donald Belanger.
Belanger. Okay.
And I will talk to him. He's taking on a lot. I don't plan on appointing him to this in Bill's absence because he's taking on a lot of other things.
Exactly. Yep.
So it'll just kind of hold tight until we get that position filled.
Sure. Okay.
Since Jill is here, I am going to ask her about item number 3 on the agenda, which is the establishment of the building committee, because I suspect that that is what she has something to add to the conversation about.
Well, it's funny. That is one of the reasons the mayor asked me to join, and I was just reviewing your request. So the mayor would like it done this week, so I will get moving on that. I do have your request in front of us. And I think there will be someone that has to be appointed from DPW because it's required in the ordinance that it's the entity in charge of maintenance of the building. So Mike and I will discuss that who from his team is the best appointee. And I think one of the other slots is a municipal slot, specifically for like use of the building. So I think it would make sense to have Ryan in that slot. So there's, and then there's gonna be some additional slots that we need filled. So there's 3 public at large, which I think you and JJ raised your hands for.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah, so we're gonna sort most of those out, but we do need to do some recruitment because there are some, we need someone from the building trades and from construction in particular, which, and we need to walk the line carefully of not, we can't have a quorum of your committee. So with you, Mark or Mike, anyway, so we just have to walk that line carefully. So we do need to do some recruitment from the public at large for some of these other slots. So we'll follow up in case anybody has some feedback of who they might be interested in.
Okay, so look forward to hearing from that. And you said possibly this week.
Yeah, if there's, well, we'll get started on the ones that we know of. If there's feedback from any of you, particularly I'm thinking about the building trades piece, or if there's members of the public that you think would be, who have either expressed interest in the committee before, and this would be a good way for them to get to know it. Building trades and construction are the 2 that are particular that would need to be filled. And Craig, if I understand it right, you're an architect, so that might fill the construction seat.
But then we end up with the quorum issue.
Depends on, well, so I have to look at it, sorry, Missy, well, Mike and I will work through that because it depends on who DPW is appointed.
Yeah,
Right.
Maggie, because if possible, and I think you would agree, it would be great if Craig could join us if he's willing.
I'm willing to join, but if, as long as we meet all the certain criterias that we're
Oh, sure, of course,
agreeing to, so.
of course.
Well, I am willing to step aside from the building committee.
Oh, no, you shouldn't step aside. I mean, I'm the one that probably should, so don't worry about that. I mean.
No, believe me, you know.
So we will decide, but we will figure out a way that the building committee can do its thing within the requirements, and also be able to figure out the logistics of keeping the City Hall Restoration Commission aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
Just so I understand, so if Greg were on it with Maggie and myself, would that trigger the problem that we're talking about?
It all depends on what the DPW appointment, who it is, and if it's what type of appointment. I don't know if I have to look at the.
Whether they appoint someone that's also on our committee, you say?
Yeah, exactly. So, and if
they're,
that's the key part. So if not, if I can work it so DPW can fill it, then the 3 of you, I think, would be fine. But again, we still need public at large. So I know the mayor has been talking to a lot of people about appointments in general, but we're open to some feedback if anybody else has public at large connections that they think would be helpful, or people you've talked about City Hall with that happen to be in the building trades that you think would be willing to give some time. I think it's really important that people are willing to commit the time, because one of the most important functions of the building committee is approving invoices and getting the people paid. And if you don't have a quorum of your building committee, this is happening at one of our other building committees. If you don't have a quorum, then you can't take the votes. And so, and that's why scheduling of the meetings is going to be so important.
One of the names that springs to mind, but I don't know what his commitment is, but he is retired, is David Campbell, who of Campbell, he ran Campbell Construction. And if there's anybody who knows anything in the trades about City Hall, it is Campbell Construction, because they did all the work along there. Now, he may not be available for whatever reason, but he is definitely worth contacting just to see who else he might be able to recommend somebody, because he knows and loves the building. So,
Yep.
He would be ideal. Because I don't think it's a project that they would be interested in bidding on, because they were doing most of the outside work, you know.
Right.
But
Great,
I
thank
can
you.
send his contact information to you.
That would be great. Thank you.
Jill, if we think of anybody else, should we send it along to you?
To the mayor at the mayor's email, mayor at
Oh, okay,
Gloucester-MA.
okay,
Because that way it goes to me, the mayor, and
Yep.
Melissa. This is-
okay.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
Jill-
that's very useful.
Maggie?
information.
Well, we got Jill. I got one other question for her that's been bothering me a little bit. So, we have that 1.5 million, I guess, which you sort of verified that we can use from the state. And then there was the 1.7 million from Community Preservation Committee, which they voted on affirmatively, but that was subject to city council approval. We had gone to, we had submitted that to the mayor at the time, the then mayor, and then it was referred back to who would it be? Administration and Finance, maybe what's the subcommittee called?
It would have been budget and finance.
But
Yep.
budget and finance. And I and John Dunn went, to represent the city there, because we're sort of co-applicants on that application. And we had a very good meeting at the time, and everybody was in favor of it there. But John didn't want them to vote on it at the time, and this was over a year ago.
Yeah, I remember from my ComDev days, because isn't it, they're waiting, anyway, there was some waiting for
the IT piece wasn't together at that time. So we didn't think we had enough definition on that. So that's still, and of course we have a new council and new everything. But we've tried to keep Matt Lundberg informed, but I just remind you that that's still outstanding. So that
Okay.
that 1.7 million.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I will, because isn't there a piece that they wanted to finish the debt service or something on the first?
Well,
piece?
there was the IT piece was also going to be bonded too, so that was going to be an issue, because obviously the CPC thing, even though it's backed by CPC funds, is a bond. So that it takes a two-thirds vote of the council.
Okay.
That was what was holding up at the time. But since then,
I-
I've heard that there was another pot of money that was not bonded, which was like $700,000 at the time. But since then, I've heard the mayor say things like he's using what's the Fed money there,
ERP.
ARPA.
recovery, yeah, exactly, and so forth. So I don't know what buckets it's coming from.
Okay,
Okay. Yeah, but I just want to keep track of all that, because we don't want to have a party and then nobody comes.
okay. I will follow up with John on that. So, so the 1.5 has been accepted through council.
Yeah.
And it's gonna get Ryan started on some of his work. And I will follow up on the 1.7 from CPC.
And it would, at some point, I don't know how you and the mayor and so forth want to handle this, but at some point it would be good to know, to kind of add up the money that we've got, and find out what we're working with, if you know what I'm saying, because so that we're not like kids in a candy store, and next thing you know, we've blown the budget, and everybody's saying, oh yeah, let's do the exterior, and let's do this to do that, and we get a project that's not feasible.
Right.
So we want to be disciplined about that, and so it'd be kind of good to know what we have in mind as an overall goal budget wise, because in the meantime, of course, inflation is raging,
Yeah.
It's eating up what little money we have.
Okay, and I know John, I talked to John before this meeting, and he had said he needs to catch up with that too. So we'll, maybe Maggie, as you schedule a future meeting, maybe next month's meeting or something, I'll make sure John Dunn and I are available so we can go over some of those pieces.
Okay.
And by the way, the timing on the CPC thing, in some ways it works out nicely, because the bond that we're replacing is expired. The CPC bond, which was a city hall bond before, back
Mhm.
many moons ago, that expires 2025. So
Right.
John was going to try to string that out into that, but with a then anticipation note, you could start before that. But, you know, because bond anticipation note could be outstanding for, you know, a couple of years pending the issuance of a permanent bond.
Yep, okay.
So does all that make sense?
It does all make sense. And again, do you guys have a regularly scheduled monthly meeting?
Well, we have been meeting as needed. With respect to that, it probably the next, I'm not quite sure what we need to be doing, because we need to make sure that we have funding for the GNAP analysis, you know, so we need, you know, it's a whole lot of balls in the air as far as I can see. So we need the building committee, and then when we need to make sure that the city has the funding for the designer fee proposal. So we need that sort of squared away. And to the extent that that can be done as soon as possible, simply to not for our benefit, but for GNAP's benefit, and getting that part of the project squared away. You know, I feel like we're in a bit of limbo about that with them, and they're very patient, but obviously patience only goes so far.
Okay. Okay, I will review this. So then I will get back to you with dates, is what I think I'm hearing.
I think that would be excellent. Yes, yes, please. We're ready to meet
Okay,
whenever you are and
Okay.
John and Mike are available. I
okay,
think that's fair to say. Is that not Craig and JJ and Kelly?
Yes.
We usually meet 10 o'clock on Monday, which is a preferred time for me because I've got it slotted. I don't usually book anything. That's usually been our go-to meeting time.
okay. And I know Kelly's schedule varies, so, okay, so I'll get some dates of some, Kelly, you have some Mondays work for you?
I'm sorry, Jill. I
Yeah,
didn't catch-
Yes.
Okay, so
Well,
we'll get
Mondays
some
too,
dates.
Obviously, as much lead time as possible.
Okay,
is
I'll
the
get
best.
some Mondays and send them you guys' way, and then you guys can work that out. Some 10 a.m. Monday slots.
Yeah, that would be good.
Okay, good. Thank you for that reminder, JJ.
You're welcome.
Okay. So that actually sort of follows up with the item number 2 on the agenda, which is the status of the GNAP proposal. We Jill and John will and Mike will provide some dates for when we can go forth with that proposal and firm it up or whatever, firm the status up. Is that fair to say?
Sorry about that.
Huh? Who?
Sorry, that was my fault.
I don't think we, so I don't think we need to review the status of the GNAP proposal. We can put that on one side until the next meeting. So we can go swiftly to item number 4, which is update on workshop between members of DPW, GNAP and City Hall Restoration Commission to discuss the maintenance list. And for the purposes of this meeting, we received an email. It was sent to, it looks like everybody on the commission, but I think it should be, I'll read it out to make sure that it is in the public domain as this meeting is recorded. So from Scott, dated January 30, 2023. Good morning, Maggie. Neil and I met with Mike last week, and part of our meeting, we talked about City Hall. The plan for the maintenance work, as we briefly talked about at the last CHRC meeting, is that CMS will meet with GNAP and DPW and review the current list and add any additional recommended repairs to the list that we find during our inspections. The idea is to create one comprehensive list that everyone can review and work off. The list will have a column for who is responsible, and we can track the procurement process within this list as well. An example is repointing, where we can identify all the obvious areas, photograph and mark up elevation drawings of photos. It's likely we would solicit pricing from masons or a waterproofing contract on the state bid list for that type of work. Depending on the scope and estimated value, we will work together to determine the best way to handle the repairs. I'm trying to get a meeting scheduled for the end of this week. Presumably it is this week he's referring to. And let's say, oh yeah, that just came out from yesterday. Yeah, this week. Or so by the end of this week or sometime next week. But I'm waiting to hear back on availability. I don't have any additional update. I won't have any additional update by tomorrow's meeting, so I don't know if it makes sense to hold the meeting or not. Do you expect an update on the building committee today? If you plan to keep the meeting scheduled, I can still join. Okay, so that is where we stand with maintenance. And if oh, we have John Dunn. How nice. Okay. So Mike, is there any further information that you want to add to Scott's email?
Well, Maggie, I think Scott summed it up pretty well. Our in-house meeting was just to discuss our process before we got GNAP as well as our tradespeople to the table to go over the list. And it's just a matter of getting everyone on the calendar. That's just a fair amount of people to bring to the table, and it's just always difficult to get more than 2 or 3 people to any meeting. So we're working on it right now.
Okay, that's great news. Thank you, Mike. Thank you. Does anybody have any other questions for Mike about this? Crickets, no. Okay, so if I can say hello to John Dunn and ask him if he wants to add anything to the content. I don't know how long, John, you've been in on this meeting. So maybe you heard the points raised by JJ regarding the financing of this project and also the financing of the GNAP proposal.
Maggie, if I may, John, I don't know if you were on, it might make more sense for us to do as we started this meeting, say, let us talk internally and then come to the next meeting, since there's no reason to go backwards and have this discussion again.
Okay, well, that's fine too. Thank you. So does anybody have, oh, hello, Scott. Everybody's popping in now.
Hello, sorry I'm late. I was just finishing a call.
Okay, so thank you, Scott. I just read, for the purposes of recording this meeting, your email that you
Yep,
sent.
I caught that. So, and then I heard Mike's follow up and everything. So I don't have anything else to add either, but sounds like we're continuing to next couple weeks out or something.
And if you did not hear, Jill is working on establishing and identifying people for the building committee. And one of the requirements is a person from the building trades. And Jill is asked as if we know people. I suggested David Campbell, who was the owner of Campbell Construction that did the construction work for the previous restoration projects that we've been involved in. He's now retired. His sons run the business now. And he would be ideal for this because he's very familiar with and very well renowned in historic restoration and that sort of thing. So he knows the building well. Anyway, that's where we are. Does anybody have anything to add to this topics that we've already discussed, or should we move to the final item on the agenda, which is a review of the minutes for the meeting held last week on January 23rd?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that, please, Maggie?
Oh, I'm wanting to know if we have completed our discussion with regards the items on the agenda, with the exception of reviewing the minutes from the previous meeting, which is my final item on the agenda.
I'm just looking yeah, I think we've covered everything on the agenda.
Okay. So does anybody want to make a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
Yep, I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes as
I'll second.
recorded.
Second those, Maggie. Second that.
Okay, is there any discussion, further discussion? So if we could have a roll call vote of the members of the commission. JJ,
Yes.
Craig,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Maggie, yes. So the minutes are unanimously approved and will be sent off to the city clerk. Okay, does anybody have anything else they wish to add to this meeting before we make a motion to adjourn? I hear nothing. Well, my dears, thank you all for participating. It's been a very useful 28.5 minutes according to my timer. So we will be back in touch later when Jill and Mike and John have determined a mutual date. Thank you very much, and thanks to Ryan for organizing the meeting.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Maggie.
Take care.
Take care.